Hi guys. All right, we're talking about lesson 26 and the steering system service for power steering, and we have diagnosed a leak at the power steering pump, and at this point we have removed the power steering pump itself. All right, and it came off with the reservoir, which is plastic, and the pulley does come off. I have saved the bolts here, and we're going to take those bolts out here in a minute. Watch yourself, it might start leaking right on you. And again, we do want to drain that fluid out. We're going to flush the lines. That's part of our service. In order to do a proper service, we do want to flush that fluid out, use the correct fluid that is specified by the manufacturers. Always best answer. All right, OEM spec fluids for that, and you're going to flush the entire system out once our new pump is installed. We did have a leaky pump here, and this pump is going to be replaced, but the reservoir and the pulley are going to be reused. So a couple of things. We have our new pump here, and I'm going to adjust you guys down a little bit so you can see what we're doing. All right, and on top of the box here, it even says stop and read. There's some very important instructions, one of them being to make sure and not crack our reservoir, to be careful with it when transferring, and it also says in those instructions to use the supplied new O-rings. Make sure you lubricate those with fresh, clean, new power steering fluid. All right, in addition, there's some copper gaskets in here, and that is going to be for our pressure relief valve, which in this case, our pressure relief valve is going to be right there. All right, so when that pressure relief valve gets removed, after we have the pulley and our reservoir off, then we can work on that. Okay. In addition, these instructions also say to flush out the old fluid. Use specified fluid from the manufacturer, proper specified fluid. All right, so read those instructions. In addition, there might be some other things that indicate attention, and this is reference to our plastic reservoir and to be careful with that. All right, so taking careful when we get it out of the box, we're going to look at the new pump. All right, and the old pump. We're going to compare size, shape, dimensions, and in this case, we've already done that off camera, and yes, they are the same. All right, and you can see that this is the bottom where our pressure relief valve is going to go, and in this case, the pressure relief valve has been supplied, and it's plugged off here. The reservoir goes here, and again, like I said, that's going to be for these new rubber O-rings. Lubricate those with fresh, clean oil, and we want to make sure that we don't have any damage to the shaft or anything in shipping. You know, parts guy brings that. Check those parts before you let the parts guy run off, all right? Or have these in your hand and make sure that you compare them. And if you have something that's wrong or different, or you have a question, call your parts guy up and ask him or her what's going on with that, and see if you can do those diagnoses before you go making this thing dirty and unusable, and they can't put it back on the shelf if you have the wrong one. Okay, so in order to get the old pulley off of the old pump and reuse that, we're going to need a couple of special tools. All right, so we have a puller here. All right, and that puller is going to go over the end of our pulley like so. All right, and as we tighten that up right there, that is actually going to push on this little boss right here, and that dude is going to push against the shaft while pulling out on the pulley. All right, now this thing is double-ended, and there are two sizes. Previously I measured those up, and it is the smaller of the two sizes. It's pretty universal that if it has a pressed-on pulley, that it's one size or the other, almost always. In fact, without exception, I have not had to find a different tool than this one right here for pulling off power steering pump pulleys that are pressed on. So nonetheless, we need this, and this part, lubricate this with some good good wheel bearing grease here, and also going to need this component, and it actually fits into our tool here, so we can hold on to this and actually create some force. And any kind of push pullers, anything like that, most of that stuff is going to be standard, not metric sizes. And you want to make sure you have the right size. In this case, it's a 3/4, which is right next to 19 millimeter. But use a standard size, or use the size that fits. Of course, lubricating these threads is helpful, and never use an impact on these. Hand tools only. All right. So I am going to mount this up in the vise and put you guys on hold for a minute. Okay, we got this mounted up in the vise. I'm squeezing down on the pump, not our plastic reservoir. All right, get your dipstick out of the way there. And we've got our tool and our pusher. This actually just sits up inside this threaded component here. Again, threads are lubricated, hand tools only, and we're going to pull that out. Before we do, we want to make a little note in our mind that this is flush. Flush means when you have two surfaces, they meet up. Neither one is proud of the surface or subdermal of the surface, subdural and sunken in at any way, shape, or form. All right, you should make note of that. And if it is, you want to put that back together in that same orientation. All right, so from here we're going to tighten this up a little bit and get that snug down. All right, and from here we're going to go ahead and start applying pressure. Power steering fluid's super slippery stuff, so even with these gloves on, could lose some traction or gription, grip and traction together. That's a word, you can use that if you want. So we have this apart, all right, took the boss out of there, slide that off, and here we have our pulley, and now we're going to be ready to reinstall it on the new one, but we have to transfer our housing here for, our reservoir to our new pump. All right, so we have these two clips here, and I might need a pick or a screwdriver. Remember, these aren't pry bars, but a lot of times you're going to have to use these in order to get down into something. In this case, this is going to work real good, more than likely. All right, same thing back here. All right, and you want to pry up on those a little bit, get those to relax, not pry the hell out of them. You got to reuse these. All right, so once you get that somewhat to let go, you're going to have to take a hammer and a punch and drive those apart a little bit. All right, as you do that, that little clip's going to come off, and remember where those go. All right, so we got the bottom here. All right, and same thing up here at the top. Get on that edge, convince that thing off of there. All right, and we got the top over here. Here's our reservoir and our old O-ring. All right, and brief pause. Okay, again, we're going to have to lubricate this O-ring to go on our reservoir here. We want to make sure and wipe that all off, nice, clean, oil-free and dry from any dirty oil. This particular fluid is a Honda spec fluid, it says, but as you read on, it does say that meets GM's requirements also, and we're working on this Hummer over here. So what I did is just took a little capful here, and I'm going to take that O-ring for a little swim and put him on the reservoir right there. All right. Move old pump out of the way and new pump in. Check the orifice. Make sure that no little Crashagnia is on there, no burrs or anything, no crap in there. Took the cap off of that for shipping. Discard your old O-ring and go ahead and install your new pump and reservoir together. Wonderful. All right, and again, we have the bottom clip here, which is going to go on right there. All right, and you may need to convince that on with a hammer and a punch, which appears to be the case. All right, and you want to make sure and get all that fluid out of the reservoir. You can see a little bit of it. You may be able to see in the video there that a little bit of it spilled. All right, we're going to get all of that out of there, no problem. All right, and we're going to push that, tap this down on there, and into position. All right, and one more. Looks good there, actually. All right, and the same thing for the top. All right, we're going to put that one on there, and that one's going to go on the top right there, and give that a little convincing into position. Outstanding. All right, so now we got that there. We can actually drive that little tab down into the groove where it actually keeps that thing from sliding off. And I'm going to do the very same thing on the bottom one here. All right, and again, fluid could be coming out. You want some good catch rags here, t-shirt rags. I'm a firm believer in giving my old t-shirts one last chance to do a job before they're discarded. All right, in the oily rag bin there. All right, so we got that back on, and our next adventure is going to be putting this pulley on there, again matching it up flush with our shaft. All right, so I'm going to get set up. Brief pause. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is find the right adapter that threads into the shaft. All right, and we'll connect to the actual same component that came out of our puller, and that is now going to be used in conjunction with a bearing, a couple of washers, and a pusher to push down on those. In this case, we got a couple of different sizes. That pusher is going to push down on that pulley and press that onto the shaft. We do want to put a slight amount of lubrication on there, just a very, very small smear. All right, so I'm going to get set up for that. Brief pause. Okay, so you can see here we got our bearing, we've got our two washers, we got the pusher, we've threaded a unit very similar to this down into the shaft and into our top bolt here. All right, and those two are holding together and basically applying torque to this component here. All right, while holding this still is going to give us a pushing action. All right, and we got the right size. Again, standard tools. This is one of those places where standard tools is going to be used. Again, not very often that you get those tools out. All right, and want to make sure that we get this lined up nice and square. All right, resist the temptation to pound this on or hit it with a hammer. Put the hammer away. No hammers. All right, you beat that shaft and you will have yourself a great deal of problem that you didn't have before. All right, so we're just going to slowly apply some force on there and double check again that we're going on properly and everything looks right in the world. All right, turning the wrench, not the socket wrench and ratchet. All right, and as you can see, we are gaining ground here. All right, and notice that I'm using the box end wrench rather than an open end wrench. you know, more surface area, less chance for damage to the fastener. All right. And these are fine thread. I have lubricated those threads, so we're making some ground, but not super fast. All right, this is by no means a fast process. All right. Getting closer. All right, so at this point, I'm going to take this apart, and I'm actually going to take a quick look here. All right, so I'm actually going to thread the center bolt out and take a quick look at our shaft and our pulley itself. All right, and I'm going to do my very best. Again, this is part of the tool. I'm going to do my very best to show you guys that that just needs a little bit more. All right. Thread that back on there. Apply that there, and like I said, just a little bit more, wrong way. And we're going to call that good. And then I'll show you guys something in just a second. I'm going to take this apart here, all right? And I want to get that tool out of there, but what I want to show you guys is that this is flush, all right, with that, and there is a small amount, I don't know if you can hear that, a small amount of in and out, where that pulley can move in and out a little bit, and the shaft is actually what's moving inside the pump. All right, so from here we'll mount this up using our bolts. If it suggests that you use a Loctite product or a thread locker, again, apply the proper kind, and we will flush out the system, install the pump, do a top off, and start the vehicle and check for leaks. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one.